has announced massive spending cuts to try to clear a record budget deficit. The austerity plan involves the loss of nearly 500,000 public sector jobs and higher university tuition. Even the royal family is feeling the pinch. This report from NBC News.
Today is the day when Britain steps back from the brink.
It's Prime Minister David Cameron's campaign promise. Cut early, cut deeply, or this country risks going bankrupt.
We are not doing this because we want to. There is no ideological zeal in doing this. We are doing this because we have to.
490,000 public sector workers will be laid off. Welfare benefits are being slashed, including money for low-income housing. University students will have to pay more to go to school. It's a sudden and unprecedented redefinition of the role of government itself. Even the Queen will take a hit. The royal household will lose 14% of its budget. The staff Christmas party this year is cancelled. And then there's Her Majesty's Armed Forces. Defense will be cut by 8%. 17,000 troops will lose their jobs. An entire fleet of fighter jets will be grounded. And an aircraft carrier under construction will never actually be used. When it's all done, the military will no longer be able to fight long-term major conflicts, like the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. The UK is not alone. The global economic crisis and mountains of debt are forcing all of Europe and the US to make painful choices.
No advanced country has ever taken this much out of its budget deficit this quickly.
It is a hard road, but it leads to a better future. We are going to bring the years of ever-rising borrowing to an end.
And with the stroke of a pen, the finance minister can do it. Unlike the U.S., there's no wrangling in Congress. The government in power determines the budget without ever having to put it up for a vote.
Critics were quick to denounce the spending cuts. They included both the opposition Labour Party and ordinary people who are being affected.
There is an alternative, there is a different way, but I fear what the government is going to do is take an irresponsible gamble with our nation's economy.
I've just been told that I lost my job on Monday. So quite a few of us have lost our jobs. You know, the government says we're all in this together, but it's us poor people that are paying for it.
Large banking firms, the people who caused this recession, are the ones who are doing fine, and we're going to be the ones who are made to suffer in the recession.
More than 1,000 people rallied in London to speak out against the austerity plan. As for the military cutbacks, Britain's ally, the United States, says London will not be sidelined in its role in maintaining global security. Workers striking against pension reform in France took no prisoners during yesterday's protests, effectively shutting down much of the country's commerce. While the government struggled to restore fuel supply, riot police were overcome by angry strikers who cut off access to one major airport. More from Sonia Artero.
With a Senate vote on the pension reform now expected on Friday at the earliest, French unions put on even more pressure with a 10th straight day of refinery strikes and work stoppages at regional airports. Fuel imports have hit record highs as the government tries to get around the blockade to France's largest oil port in Marseille. Meantime, 51 oil tankers had to wait off the coast amid shortages caused by refinery strikes and fuel depot protests. At the Charles de Gaulle Airport in Paris, hundreds of strikers cut off access to the airport beginning at dawn with a roadblock. Angry protesters took over one human police barrier, literally pushing over officers to expand their striking efforts. Passengers trying to make flights resorted to dragging their suitcases hundreds of meters on foot.
We had to walk with the luggage, and it took about 30 minutes to get here. The street was locked, and how do you say? It was truly hard to get here.
Over in Lyon, youths continued clashing with police. They also kicked in storefronts, smashed up car windows, set trash bins on fire, and threw bottles on the streets. The presence of riot police did nothing to deter the striking mob. Officers used tear gas against the youth, but appeared unable to stop the violence. With nearly a third of France's gas stations dry, authorities stepped in overnight to force open 3 fuel stations that had been blocked off for days by striking workers. But President Nicolas Sarkozy remains determined to pass the reform bill immediately, adamant to begin curbing his country's deficit and reducing debt. Sonia Artero, TVB News.
Moving on to sports news, and in the baseball playoffs, the San Francisco Giants are 1 win away from their first World Series appearance since 2002. San Francisco scored the winning run in the 9th inning to beat the Philadelphia Phillies 6-5 in Game 4 of the National League